What is up, YouTube? I'm Devon DaVinci, leader of the Renaissance Crew, and you're watching DaVinci Reacts. Today I have the continuation and the final video in this particular series of videos. This is a four-part series dedicated to whether or not, like, what would have happened if the South had won the Civil War. So it goes from that moment and it continues all the way on to, I guess, present day, as like an alternative timeline for what the world would be like if the South had won the Civil War. This one is called "Settling the Score Once and for All." Southern Victory Part 4. This video was uploaded by Emperor Tigerstar. You guys know this was a series that was co-created by Emperor Tigerstar and Alternate History Hub. I will have a link for the original video in the description box down below, and I will try to have some cards for the other three videos that I did a reaction to. So if you want to see the entire series in its entirety, click the card that's going to be over here somewhere, and it will pop up like the other three videos. And I'll try to have something at the end of the video that you can click on if you want to use it that way. But with that being said, let's click on this and see what it has to offer. Last time we watched this, there was the Hitler-like figure. I forgot his name, but he came from the South after their defeat in World War II. And let's see, or World War I, I think. And let's see what the world is like after that. There we go.
For the fourth time in 100 years, we're once again facing the incommunicable experiences of war. Man, we really can't ever get along now, can we?
Never.
In 1939, Confederate President Jake Featherston had been elected again for a second term, the only Confederate president to get another 6 years in office. However, this was largely for show, and only possible due to the way under his previous term he consolidated power and changed the Constitution, which effectively made him president for life.
And a Confederate flag. I'm gonna go back. I wanted to hear that again.
The Constitution, which effectively made him president.
I pressed back twice.
With the
Yeah, I knew it was going to jump back 2 times.
The only Confederate president to get another 6 years in office. However, this
my
was large.
computer's acting up again, so there we go. It finally paused. I was about to say, it's funny seeing people fly the American flags and the Confederate flags together. In America, they still do that, but for some reason, like it doesn't make sense, because obviously they were at war with each other. They didn't like each other. One side was considered traitor or treasonous to the other. It would be like people flying. Well, what's the best way to compare it? Like, I know, for example, Great Britain and Ireland have been pretty much at war for a long time. Or I don't know if it's technically war. It's more like a rebellion, I guess, something like that. It would be like somebody holding the flag for both of them things, like both of those factions at the same time. It doesn't make any damn sense. Like, you can't represent one and represent the other, really. It's the opposite. It's just crazy. Y'all see I pressed the start button.
For show, and only possible due to the way under his previous term he consolidated power and changed the Constitution, which effectively made him president for life. With the conflict brewing in Europe, many knew it was inevitable that fighting would begin again between the Confederacy and their eternal rival, the United States of America.
My great-grandfather fought the Yankees. My grandfather fought the damn Yankees. My father fought the goddamn Yankees. It's my turn now, and I don't know what Yankee I'll be fighting myself. Terry Beauregard.
By the summer of 1941, he was ready for war against the United States and brought the Second Great War and the Fourth War between the states to the American continent.
The Second Great War.
Okay, that's enough Ken Burns for one day. By the way, his entire Civil War documentary series is on Netflix, and you should watch it because it's one of the best documentaries ever.
Good, it paused on time. So the last couple videos, America, at least the northern part of America, was on the German side of World War I, and they actually won. So I'm wondering what side they're going to be on in World War II, because not all sides were just universally the same. Japan was on the Allied side in World War One, and then we're on the Axis side in World War II, and I believe Italy was as well. I'm wondering like what sides everybody's going to flip on. It's been a while since I watched the last video, so I don't know exactly what like the North has to gain from staying on the same side. Because usually what motivates people from changing is like maybe they felt cheated from during the Treaty of Versailles or whatever else, so it causes them to like go to the other side. I'd have to go back and watch them, but let's check it out.
But seriously though, imagine living in this timeline. You might see a documentary exactly like this. Amazing to imagine the possibilities of alternate history. Which is why Alternate History Hub and I are making our videos over the Harry Turtledove Southern Victory series. Again, this is not spoilers for the main characters and their developments, but the general lore of the alternate history itself. The changes in the map, the different wars, the influence they'd have on future alternate generations. So as the beginning of this video pointed out, as well as at the end of part 3, World War II, the Second Great War, has started. Europe is fighting again, and the Confederacy brings the war to the Americas through their invasion of Ohio, codenamed Operation Blackbeard. Get it? Because Barbarossa's a pirate, and so is Blackbeard? Anywho, now they're driving their way through Ohio to cut America off. Their hope is by cutting off supplies from the two halves of the country, as well as their mighty display of military might, they would shock the United States and cause it to collapse or surrender or something. But, surprise, surprise, the U.S. doesn't give up, so what now? Well, General Patton, who's leading Confederate forces, decides to focus on the city of Pittsburgh. It's a good checkpoint on the map and an industrial center. So they try to besiege the city, but the U.S. Army manages to prevent that, so it becomes a bitterly fought battle, street by street. Some of you may be asking, does this make Pittsburgh Stalingrad? Yes. Yes, it does. There are several parallels to our timeline's World War II. Like, who's Patton's rival general? Irving Morrell. Don't see it yet? Let me switch some letters around a bit, and change a few of them. Old man Rommel! And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you pesky historians! Okay, so there are several things like that, and while some might find it unoriginal, I actually enjoy it. I see them as wonderful Easter eggs inside the series. Besides, some things still go differently. It's not like the other side isn't still the Allies, it's old-fashioned World War I imperialism, just with better weapons. Wait a minute. None of this involves Japan, does it? What's Japan doing? Well, in case you didn't know, since the US never took the Philippines, Japan did. Also, they somehow acquired French Indochina and the Dutch East Indies in the 1920s. The book didn't explain it that well. It kind of implied intimidation and compensation, but, you know, it's not a main part of the story, so it doesn't matter. But the whole point is, they're bigger. So despite this, the United States, and presumably Germany, in the Pacific could cause problems for their expansion. So like in World War I, Japan is still on the side of the Allies. They're having naval battles with the US near Hawaii, and actually capture Midway Island. Then they lose it, and they never really take Hawaii. That's about it for a while, but we'll get back to them later. What about Europe? Well, the British took over Ireland, Russia invaded Ukraine, which is the German puppet state essentially, and a massive Allied offensive invades the Low Countries in the Rhineland. Belgium is liberated from being a puppet state, and the Netherlands are actually a central power, so they get overrun too. Germany manages to hold them off at the Rhine River and outside of Hamburg. Then it's a stalemate again. Britain at one point tries to do a stupid thing and take resources from Norway so Germany doesn't get them, but that only causes Norway to join the Central Powers. Oops. Anything else important happen? Oh yeah, the British and Confederates drove the US out of the Bahamas and Bermuda, and Utah rebels again, and yeah, there's another thing too. Remember how Featherston was angry at the African Americans who rebelled during the Great War? Well, being a Nazi and all, he began sending them to death camps. An important part of this book series involves several black partisan groups trying to resist being captured and taken to the camps, as well as the Confederacy trying hard to make sure that no American army manages to find a camp. The British find out and they're a bit disturbed, but they need the CSA to keep the USA distracted, so they just awkwardly shut up and pretend not to notice. It's a very dark and sad thing, but it's possible, as the same thing happened in our timeline's World War II. Hitler at several times pressured his allies to hand over their Jewish populations, and sadly, they mostly shut up and complied. The idea of a Holocaust happening in America is startling. but we have to remember that if it can happen in one continent, it could happen in another.
True.
So, what's the turning point of the war? Well, the Confederates failed to take Pittsburgh, and some forces inside a Pittsburgh pocket surrender in 1943. The U.S. also begins to advance in various places along the border. How does the Confederacy keep supplying troops? Well, their ally, the Mexican Empire, is intimidated into sending reinforcements to help with that. Despite this, the U.S. manages to drive the Confederates back across the border and begin an offensive into Kentucky and Tennessee. They tried to invade Virginia to take Richmond, but that failed. Morrell decided to try the same strategy Featherston had, cut them in half, and maybe this time it'd work. By 1943, Utah's rebellion had failed, and there were more advances in Texas. The U.S. also decided to invade Mexican-held Baja California. Since it was cut off, it'd be easy pickings, and that was taken really quickly. Then also in 1943, the ultimate anime betrayal happened. With the war against the U.S. being a stalemate, which meant the U.S. wasn't going to be a threat to Japanese interests anymore, Japan ultimately decides to switch sides and attack British colonies in the area, taking British Malaysia and preparing for a possible invasion of Burma and India. The U.S. was fine with this, as they wanted to focus their full might on the South. Say, doesn't World War II involve nukes? Yes, it does, except in this timeline they're called super bombs, and actually that's kind of a cooler name. Naturally, everyone is scrambling to get them as quickly as possible. The real question is, who gets them first?
I'm not really sure what the purpose of changing the name. Like, I'm not sure what would cause the name to not just be nukes. Like, what does the South not being involved in the United States do with changing that? They don't really explain it. Unless the name nuke came from, like, a Southern physicist or scientist that, like, was the one that gave them the name, what would be the... I don't get it. Seems like you're at that point. It seems like you're just changing certain stuff for the sake of changing it.
Well, with Germany never going Nazi, they kept a lot of notable Jewish scientists, like Albert Einstein. So they had quite the head start. They got their nukes first, and in 1944 decided to use them. They gave an ultimatum for Russia to make an armistice or else. Russia said no. So the Germans nuked Petrograd. The Tsar wasn't in there, so he didn't die, but he begrudgingly still refused to surrender. So Germany decided to try the other side, and gave the same ultimatum to France. They said no. Paris got nuked, and this time the French king was there, so France quickly capitulated as they had no backup leader, and frankly, they were tired of fighting. Seeing their other ally out of the war, Russia finally asked for an armistice, realizing they had no hopes of winning the war anyway. Plus, it seemed like Japan was also going to invade Russia and, try to take Siberia or something, so they had other problems. The next nation to develop an atomic bomb was actually the Confederacy, but it wasn't as powerful as they kind of rushed. They were super worried
kind of like North Korea
would make a bomb first, so they used their rushed bomb on Philadelphia. It did cause a lot of damage, but didn't destroy the entire city. Still, the US was angry and sped up their own nuclear efforts. They also had finally advanced closer to Richmond, so Featherston had to begin fleeing south. The US was third and nuked Newport News, Virginia. Why?
So everybody's just getting nukes.
Featherston was there, but he had already left. Guys, nukes aren't toys! Then, after Germany nuked Paris, the U.S. nuked Charleston, as it was the city with Fort Sumter, the area that started all this fighting all the way back in 1861. Meanwhile, Winston Churchill remained in Britain. He didn't give up. He said he'd fight on the beaches, he'd fight on the landing grounds, and he decided to nuke Hamburg. So how did Germany respond to the nuking of Hamburg? They retaliated threefold by superbombing Norwich, Brighton, and London.
There goes the world, guys.
This was a problem because even though Winston Churchill had escaped London as well as the royal family, Britain didn't have as many bombs as Germany did, apparently. Germany, in fact, even warned them that they had more bombs and were willing to use them if they didn't surrender. Churchill still didn't give up and tried to send another bomb, which was shot down over Belgium before it could get anywhere. Oops. With no options left, Churchill was ousted by what was left of the British government, and the British requested for an armistice. Japan was a non-threat for the Central Powers, so that meant the Confederates were the last one left. So yeah, everyone's nuking everyone, except Japan. General Morrell had captured Atlanta and was moving through Georgia, similar to the March to the Sea that never happened in this timeline. Featherston refused to surrender, and thought he could fight guerrilla style in the deeper south. But with the U.S. controlling large parts of Georgia now, he'd have to be careful. He tried to fly over with a plane, but he was caught and shot down. He tried to escape, but was found by some African-American partisans. They naturally shot him several times and killed him. With his death, several notable CSA officials also surrendered. Texas decided to secede from the CSA to become the Republic of Texas, and as a gesture of goodwill arrested notable CSA figures in the area, including those who ran the death camps there, which were discovered by this point. They handed them over in a "please don't hurt us, we're not with them" gesture. The US said, "That works for us," figuring it just gave them less land to occupy, and decided to allow it. The rest of the CSA, though, was captured and surrendered under US military occupation, with the final CSA leaders surrendering on July 14, 1944. The CSA, after 83 years, was no more. Then that's it. That's where the story ends. The US now possesses the former CSA, except for Texas, although they did recreate the state of Houston, and also annexed Baja California from Mexico. The book didn't say what the map looked like in Europe or the Pacific, as it wasn't ever the main focus, but a fun sideshow.
A hellscape?
The series, it makes you wonder several things. How would the US heal? The CSA in our timeline ended in 1865, and there are still people out there resentful of it. This timeline, one can only imagine it'd be at least 100 times more prevalent.
It's way
Will
more.
the US always keep control of Canada? Will they enter a Cold War with Germany or Japan or both? Sadly, the books don't say. But the fun of alternate history is that you can come up with your own scenario for this. By the way, there's going to be another part. In case you newcomers to this channel had no idea, I love maps, especially animated ones. So I'm going to make a part 5 of this series that shows an animated map of everything that happened during the books from 1861 all the way to 1944. So if you enjoy maps, be sure to tune in to part 5. Thanks again to Cody for this wonderful collaboration, and thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe to this channel and Alternate History Hub, and I will see you next time.
Okay, I will likely not do a reaction to the 5th video, which is the animated map. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, go to Emperor Tigerstar's channel, and I'm sure you will find it in the video section of that. Now, earlier I said that I thought that the United States, or I thought that the Confederacy would live on through like people the same way it is now, except like he said, 100 times more. But now that I think about it, I don't think it would be, because this isn't just a matter of a rebellion being squashed. This was a country that was founded and then went through the same exact thing as Nazi Germany, pretty much, with the Holocaust and the dictator leader and things like that. They probably treat the country just like how Germany treated Nazism after World War II, where they would just completely stamp it out, make it illegal to even display flags or speak positive of the regime in any way. So yeah, I don't think that it would be as noticeable as it is in this timeline. Like like in America, you see people flying Nazi flags and stuff like that too, but they can kind of get away with it because of the whole freedom of expression, freedom of speech things in the Constitution. But I'm willing to guarantee that had the Nazis been in America, we wouldn't have been playing any of that. Like, it would have been completely squashed from the get-go. There would be no flying Nazi flags in America at all. So I feel it'll be the same way with the Confederate flag. Like, there would be no flying it whatsoever. Like, it would probably become damn near illegal to do so. But let me know what you guys think. Go in the comment section and leave your opinions. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And with that being said, I will go ahead and wrap this up. I probably will. I'm going to do some more recordings, but I'll probably just have a couple videos come out one day, then have some more videos come out the next day. So just in case I'm not able to like record again tomorrow, I'll still have some videos in the back burner that can come out. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you guys in a future video. I'm going to give you the deuces, and that's pretty much it. So I'm Devon DaVinci. Hopefully you've been enlightened. Deuces.